Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and today I am back with another Creating with the Collections, which is a collaboration that I am doing with Nicole. We are using Doodlebug's Tinsel for this round. I pulled out this one-page sketch from Scrapbook Generation to document some photos of Eli and I making a gingerbread house. When Nicole and I started to think about this collaboration and what collection that we would use, as well as what photos we were planning to document, when we decided to use our Christmas photos, because both of us tend to shy away from it, one of the main reasons that I shied away from it was because I really didn't have a way to document how many one-page layouts I was doing versus double-page layouts, and I knew that a lot of my Christmas photos were going to be one-page layouts. Christmas is one of my most favorite holiday seasons, and I love it because there's just so much that can be done. And a lot of the times that I am completing those fun Christmas activities, I'm not remembering to take photos. It's almost as if it's an afterthought. So I don't have a lot of photos where I could do a double page layout. The beginning of last year, my friend Abby introduced me to her spreadsheet that she was using to keep track of the layouts that she was completing, which allowed her the ability to see which layouts had double pages, which layouts had single pages, and then was able to coordinate that and have that space in her album where she was able to see I needed to have a one-page layout to coordinate with it. So when Nicole suggested that we do a Christmas series, I was absolutely on board with it because I knew that I could utilize that spreadsheet. I do have a video on that spreadsheet, as well as how I store my sketches and how I plan out my layouts. And I'll link it here for you guys. These particular photos are of Eli and I decorating a gingerbread house. This year I decided to just get one, and I thought it would be fun to have us each decorate a side of the house. I didn't even think to get a picture of the end result, but I will tell you that this house was very interesting. And so I knew I wanted to include all of the candy pieces that were in this collection to really showcase the fun, whimsical vibe that we were going for when we created our gingerbread house. When I was looking through the sketches, I really liked the block parts of this sketch. I love the fact that there are two photos on it, and then I can decorate all of these blocks with different embellishments, especially when I'm really trying to use up some of the embellishments from this collection since there's so many of them. Over on the far left-hand side, I added that green gingham. I knew that I wanted to focus a lot on the 6x6 paper pad because I knew I wanted to have some smaller prints in this layout. I love that candy paper. It has that pink background and all the fun Christmas candy pieces added to it, which I think goes really well with the gingerbread house. And then I was also trying to pull in some of my scraps to incorporate those so that I don't have a ton of them at the end of this series. The white paper at the bottom was a little bit short, but I knew that I could add that teal tag that says Christmas Magic on it right above it to hide some of that gap from the shorter paper. I did decide to put that Christmas Magic up on fun foam just to separate it a little bit from the pattern paper in the background. And then I thought that over on the far right hand side I would add that pink polka dotted paper so that I could tie the pink candy paper from the left hand side. And then up at the top I added the paper that has all of the Christmas trees on it in all the fun variety of colors. And I really liked having that piece there so that it tied everything together and brought all of the colors in so that it didn't feel like I had this disconjointed layout with just some random colors thrown into it. I then started to look through the embellishments and I pulled out Santa's boot that has all the candy pieces in it. So it has a gingerbread man, as well as some candy cane and some gumdrops. Looking at the sketch, I realized that I needed to add something over to the far left-hand side, a striped pattern paper, and I thought, why not add a red and white candy stripe? It reminds me of a candy cane, as well as I feel like it goes really well with the green, having that green and red Christmas colors, even though this layout is a non-traditional Christmas colors. After I got that red and white striped paper down, I decided to look through the embellishments, and I really wanted to bring in all of the candy pieces that I could. I decided to add a row of the Christmas candy as well as what I would consider to be peppermints, even though they're not red and white, over on the far right to mimic the sketch. And then I thought about adding this jar that had all the candy pieces in it as well, but I just wasn't liking the way that it sat there. So I decided to pull that up, and instead I brought in a little house. I figured since we're doing a gingerbread house, why not bring in a house as well? And this was the only house that was in the embellishment pieces that kind of looked like a gingerbread house, mainly because there was a peppermint right above the door. I do decide to put that up on fun foam, and of course I had to pull out my T-square ruler to make sure that it was straight. I then knew that I for sure wanted the Santa's boot up there at the top, so I decided to go ahead and adhere that down. Then I started to look through the embellishments to try to find something to go on top of the tree paper. And I knew I wanted to use one of those candy jars, and I felt like that candy jar fit better there, especially since I wasn't going to be using the candy jar at the bottom. I thought about adding some smaller candy jars, but I still wanted to be able to see the trees behind it. So I added some fun foam behind it and went ahead and adhered it down. Then I was looking at the house at the bottom, and I really wanted it to look more like a gingerbread house. So I pulled out the mini icons and I added a row of candy pieces at the bottom. Then I started to decorate the house as if it was a gingerbread house. It did take me a little bit to figure out which color combination I wanted for the candy pieces. I definitely wanted to use the gumdrops as well as the Christmas stripe candy and the peppermint, but I wanted to make sure that none of the colors were the same next to each other. So it did take me a little bit because I think on the last layout, or maybe the first layout, I did use quite a bit of candy pieces there as well. And so it took me a while to find even more candy pieces. I know that the next couple layouts that I need to plan do not need to have anything to do with candy, since I have been using that a lot. I decided to add a candy cane to the left of the house, and I thought about adding it to the right of the house as well, but then it was going to cover up that red candy piece that was above it, so I decided to go with a yellow gumdrop instead. There's a little Christmas wreath on the house, and there were little dots on it, and I thought, why not use the puffy stickers to put on top of those little dots on the wreath as well. It allowed me to use up quite a bit of the puffy pieces. I then pulled out my Doodle Pop, which I knew I wanted to use on this layout as well. It's a Santa cup, and inside the Santa cup is a gingerbread house, as well as a Christmas tree and a candy cane, and then also what kind of looks like maybe whipped cream. Around Santa's boot, as well as the Santa cup, I decided to add some of the Christmas candy. I pulled them from the enamel shapes, as well as from the mini icons. And I love the way that it looks like it's just kind of spilling out of both the boot and the cup. I thought about bringing that jar of candy back into the pink paper that has all the candy pieces on it, but then I remembered that I definitely wanted to add some journaling to that area, so I decided to add a jar of candy over on the far left-hand side. I did a Google search for titles for gingerbread houses, and I found a title that says Sweet Christmas Memories, and I loved that title. There was no word sweet in any of the embellishments, so I did pull out this die that I got from My Favorite Things, and I cut it out twice in the white, and then I pulled out this snowflake paper and cut out the top layer for that. You can't even see the snowflakes on the paper because the word is so thin and delicate, but I really liked the color because it matched the color of the Christmas magic that's on the bottom of the layout. So I added the two base white pieces to my silhouette mat, adhered both of those down, and then added the snowflake paper on top of it so that they were all set before I put it on the layout. Nicole also has a layout going up today for the Creating with collection, so make sure that you go check out her video. It will be listed below as well as at the end of the video. I can't wait to see it. It's so exciting to see how different our layouts are, even though we're using the exact same materials. She does a lot more one pages than I do, and I have been doing a couple of one pages for this collection, but even so, our one pages are still vastly different. When I was looking through the embellishments, I was able to find Christmas and memories to be able to add to my title, but when I laid everything down, the word Christmas and memories were so large that it did not fit. So I continued to look through the embellishments and I was able to find this tag that says Christmas on it. I started to layer it up. I thought maybe by having the word sweet nestle around it and then memories underneath it, it would look okay, but I just wasn't liking it. So I went back to the embellishment pieces and continued to look for the word Christmas, which there's not a lot, and I find that very surprising. But I was able to find this tag that says Oh Christmas Tree, and I doubt that I would use it, so I decided to just go ahead and cut out the word tree and O and just use the Christmas. And I liked the fact that it was green because I have the house at the bottom of the layout, and so it ties those greens together. And it almost creates a visual triangle with the green that's over on the far left-hand side. So I added the word memories down first, and then I did put the word Christmas up on fun foam, and then added the word sweet. And I did tuck the word sweet underneath the Christmas, and I love the way that that nestles on the top and bottom of Christmas. I decided to do just a little bit of stitching over on the far left-hand side. So I pulled out my stitching tools and I'm going to just add a single row of pink stitching to the bottom. I do have all of my stitching tools linked below, including this magnetic tin, as well as my needles and my threaders in my Amazon storefront. Once I got the stitching down, I decided that I needed a little bit more candy up to the top. So I'm just looking through the enamel shapes as well as the icons and mini icons and adding some candy pieces to the title cluster. A while ago, I had created a bunch of playlists on my channel, and I don't know that I've ever mentioned it in my videos that I have playlists. So if you're looking for Christmas layouts and you want to see a ton of Christmas layouts that I've created, which there's not a lot, I do have a playlist listed below that's for all of my Christmas videos. I also have a playlist for my Doodlebug collections, and I will link that below as well. So if you wanted to check out the layouts that I've completed with the Doodlebug collections, and that's all of the Doodlebug, not just a certain collection, that playlist is also linked below. I try to make it very easy for you guys to binge watch me. I know that that's what I enjoy doing when I'm scrapbooking, is if I am going to binge watch something, I really want to see the same person and just kind of see all the different layouts that they've created. And that was my thought process when I created the playlist, was if somebody wanted to check out all of the layouts that I've created for a certain collection or maybe even a certain holiday, I have tons of playlists on my channel. So make sure that you are checking those out as well. All right, so I'm just adding some final touches with all of those candy pieces, and then that is it for this video. Here is my final layout as well as some close-ups. Make sure you go and check out Nicole's video. It is linked below and it will be at the very end of this video. I'm super excited to see what her next layout's going to be. It will be a little bit before we have another Creating with collections coming out, because March Madness is starting very, very soon, and I will have a layout a day and they will all be focusing on Disney. If you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.